Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. We're inching closer and closer to the summer months where we have rain pretty much every day here in South Florida, which most definitely wreaks havoc on your home or offices. But no worries, Water Cleanup of Florida is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. All you have to do is call 954-579-0356. Michael, Robert, George, their entire team has well over 60 years of combined experience with licensed, certified, insured contractors. So not only they find what's wrong, fix what's wrong, but they'll make it look brand new. Again, just call 954-579-0356 or check them out on their website, wcufl.com. You check them out on the socials at Water Cleanup FL. They do a fantastic job. My wife and I trusted them with our home. You can not only trust them with your home, but be elated that you worked with them because they do a fantastic job with communication, getting the job done, and are there for you. 954-579-0356. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts. It feels like the Heat have the guts. It's just a lot of schmutz when it comes to the injury report. No Butler, no Rozier. Duncan Robinson is not the same. We talk with Mr. 5 Reasons Sports, our favorite guy to talk Miami Heat basketball with, Ethan Scoop Skolnick, about what is there for the Heat in this Boston Celtics series and what is there for the Heat in this upcoming offseason right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, where are we at with the Miami Heat? Ethan Skolnick,
over. Where are we at? Over.
And what do you see? I mean, Lubie has him winning a game on the South Beach diet, but I don't know. I mean, it didn't look pretty. That 14-0 haymaker they got hit with was more indicative, I think, of how you feel it seems like the series is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I give him credit for fighting, and I don't mean the stuff at the end, which was silly, and we can talk about that too. But like, they competed, and I especially Jaquez, I thought, he's going to be a really good playoff player for them as they go forward. I think you can see the signs of that. And I thought Jovic was fine, and DeLon Wright came off the bench and gave him some, erase some of the points in garbage time. But look, they just don't have enough. I mean, we can talk about the phrase all the time, but if they were fully healthy against this Celtics team, I do think it could be competitive. If they had Butler, and people are not talking about that, if they had Rozier. Like they need somebody who can create something out of nothing and all that. And also if they had Duncan Robinson, because the reality is Duncan is not right. I mean, you're watching him. I respect him trying to play. I'm worried about his long-term future. Actually, this facet syndrome with the back is not an ideal thing. And but
it's from all that heavy lifting he was doing with the good Greek.
Well, with a good
moving commercial,
good Greek more moving and storage, exactly. But he was not. He just doesn't look the same. I mean, he was really really big for them the first half of the season, but he's not really doing anything but just standing there and trying to make a three, and even that looks like a struggle for him. It looks like he's in pain. You're talking.
He's making Kevin Love look young.
Well, I mean, right now Kevin Love is like one of their 3 most reliable players, and I don't really understand why Spo only played him 5 minutes in the first half the other day. But they've got they're without 3 of their 4 or 5 most important players on offense. Like, I mean, again, including Duncan as without. Like, I don't know what you do with that when you're facing a team that has a play style, is very confident right now. I mean, the Celtics in that game had 8 players play. All 8 made a 3. If you take Tatum out, who was actually 1 of 8, okay?
Yeah.
Every other one of the 7 players in their rotation made at least 2 threes on at least 40% shooting.
Oh, God.
Who are these guys, by the way? I mean, where are they?
Well,
where are they getting these nondescript white guys that are off the bench for the Celtics?
Well, it's Boston. They just take them out of a townie bar. But yeah, it's
we're eating chowder at 6 o'clock.
Well, I mean, if Sam Hauser's going to stand there alone for 7 seconds, I mean, he's going to make a 3. I mean, this is, people are comparing Hero to him, but honestly, and we can talk about Tyler, but Tyler's not being asked to do the same thing as Sam Hauser. Tyler is now being asked to initiate the offense, create mismatches. I mean, he's not a number one option. Like, I mean, we can argue whether he's a number 2 option or a number 3 option, or he should be an option on some other team, but he's not a number 1 option. We know that. And it's almost unfair to him at this stage. And I wasn't surprised that he struggled in game 1.
Well, and that's where I was going to go. So you naturally went there for me. Tyler Hero played really well in the must-need play-in game and sort of carry them. He said, "Look, I summoned my inner Jimmy Butler. He almost had his first. What was his first career triple-double was an assist short. But again, and I know they're asking a lot of him. Same thing with Bam. A lot of us are tough on Bam, but a lot of you guys will say, look, if you watch what Bam's doing, it's hard to do everything. He's anchored a top 5 defense. And yes, see, my contention is the old school bigs did both, right? They would anchor defenses and play well on offense. But again, he's not an old school big. The guy's like 6'9".
No.
He's not Ewing. So to expect that of him is not fair. And he's never purported himself to be that. What do you do with the two of them? Because to me, talent-wise, they have shown. We've seen flashes of both of them in conference finals carry the Heat. Hero's rookie, Hero 2020, and Bam 2 years ago. For all that he is, when Butler was hurt, he played really well in a couple of those games. I know we don't want to jump to the future because we have a series, but even you said it's done.
Right.
Where are we with those
2
guys?
minutes in.
Well, I'm really promoting my own content here. I'm like, don't follow us for the next week.
No, they love the offseason.
But you're not going to learn anything. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Your guys love the offseason more than what are you talking about? Our numbers are the best when we talk about offseason.
We'll be doing 75 episodes on Donovan Mitchell, subliminal messages, Lubie. So yeah. What do you do? I mean, they're not trading Bam. So that's kind of a non-starter. I mean, you'd have to change the entire course of what you're trying to do with this roster if you traded Bam. They are always going to lean into defense, and they're always going to think that there's more for Bam to offer offensively. I think we've bumped up kind of against the ceiling, and I don't think it's because of skill set. I think it's more just mentality. I don't think he views himself as a lead scorer. We've seen flashes of it. He's never really developed the post game, that kind of player. Remember, this is somebody who has wildly overachieved. I mean, he was the number 14 pick in the draft. When he came out, of the draft, Riley compared him to like a Sean Kemp type, which was a real compliment if you remember Sean Kemp before he got fat.
The Rain Man. Yep.
But it's just like, he's never been the lead guy on a team, like at any level. And so offensively, he's been tremendous, but it's not his demeanor, I don't think, to become a 1A. And Tyler, look, I mean, we're going to keep having these conversations, and it just becomes, okay, at what point do you just, it's like you got a stock, okay? And it's a high flyer. It's a momentum stock. That's kind of what Hero was. And then it kind of bumps up against resistance and starts to go down and down. And you're sort of like, all right, it's not going back up. So what do we do with it now? And it's like they haven't wanted to sell the stock, unless it's going to be at this price, which is like a Kevin Durant price or a Donovan Mitchell price. They haven't offered him, for most players, most elite guys. But at this point, I do think you need to go in the offseason and say, all right, how do we reshuffle this roster? How do we get more size around Bam to assist? So maybe we're making some lateral moves, but it's positional changes. It's a different type of team. And my question is, how do you do it without punting on Jovic and Jaquez? That's where I'm at. Because I think Jovic has star potential, like star potential. But you're going to have to reshape the team around him to get that out, because for that to happen, he's done a tremendous job adjusting to being an off-the-ball player, taking spot-up threes, etc. But at some point, you got to be, all right, this kid can do some things with the ball in his hands. He can push in transition. He can create plays. When are we going to unleash him? But you need a certain roster around him to unleash him. And I think that is a question. And then the big overhang of all this is, are you giving Jimmy Butler a 2-year max extension when he's going to play 50 games a year and his body's going to start to break down? I don't know. So They are not in an enviable position. They are in an enviable position that they do have some assets and they've got a very smart front office, and they will pay. This thing about Mickey won't pay is not true. They don't want to be in the second apron, but they'll pay. But it's just they have roster parts going in different directions right now, and they got to decide what kind of team they want to build.
It's funny too when you mention an owner like considering not wanting to pay, and then you look at the value of the franchises. And how they've escalated. I mean, I keep seeing Steve Ballmer screaming in the front row, thinking this guy gave Donald Sterling $2.4 billion at the time, an enormous amount of money for a team that couldn't draw anybody but Billy Crystal to their games. And, and you know what? He's going to end up turning a pretty handsome profit, as rich people tend to do.
That's why he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
How this works. When you have billions, it's easier to make billions.
I'm hoping to make it there by blind luck late in life, Scoop. I don't know. And with 5 reasons doing what it's doing, let's face it, and the gambling industry taking off to levels that we never ever could have dreamt of. Let me ask you a question. I missed this. I didn't see the news about the rule change. How many steps constitute a travel? That would be one. And I keep seeing this, Scoop. And you know what? We were talking about growing up with like New York basketball fundamentals. I would have to say they're very solid compared to other areas of the country because, you know, I mean, there was a time literally where it would have been applicable. How do you get rid of DeForest? You know, you roll a basketball out of the car where I could have been the subject of, racist assertions. But yeah, because I couldn't pass by a basketball game, and you would go around to different areas and say, well, what the fuck are you doing? But when did it become okay to have a guy throw you the ball, you drop the pass and pick it back up, but then you're still able to dribble? And then on top of that, if you're Jalen Brunson, you can now take 7 Euro steps, enough to traverse Croatia, and then you go to the basket and throw up a brick, and they call it a foul, even though nobody touched you and you're at the line. I mean that. But when did that start? Where you were allowed to drop the ball and then pick it up and still have a dribble?
Well, that Knicks-Sixers game yesterday, you had Brunson taking 12 steps and you had Lowry flopping all over the place.
Oh my God!
Not especially aesthetic. And I'm a Brunson fan, but I do think he's going to get called differently.
Lubie marginalized
starting next year.
You would have probably rather had Ernie DiGregorio on your team than Brunson, the way Lubie described him.
I know he's been tremendous. I love his I love his mentality. Like
he looks a little worn out though now. He's shooting poorly.
He is absolutely a New York Knick in terms of what they value there, and I give him credit for that. I just I think there's been a lot of rules that have been kind of abandoned, and I really don't understand why Adam Silver put in this thing to change the way the games are officiated at the All-Star break, because it's obvious they did. And I understand the need for the change. You don't want players foul baiting, but like do it in the offseason, man. Like you can't have whatever order they gave to the officials. Like you can't have them do it in the middle of the year, 2/3 of the way through the year prior to playoffs, and expect players to all adjust. And I think that's why we've seen some of the choppiness in the play. So I think they'll get that resolved this offseason. But look, I think that the league went too far in allowing the offenses to dominate, and I also think that there are things they need to look at to change the way that the game is being played offensively. Because the three-pointer, look, it's better to have it than to not have it. Okay, Golden State obviously kind of perfected the art of building a game around it. But I mean, this thing where Boston had more threes than twos in the last game, like I think we're getting to a stage where between the analytics, which is saying either at the rim or behind the 3-point line, it used to be in the playoffs that no matter what you did in the regular season, that the mid-range was still important.
Yes.
Because, that's where, and that's, if you look at like Kawhi winning the championship and all that, that's kind of where he made his, hey, now the mid-range doesn't matter at all anymore. It's just basically bombing away from three. And I don't think, as much as we had compelling finishes yesterday in both games, and we did. And by the way, nobody's beating Denver. So this is do you know what Denver, since they put this starting lineup together, okay, this is a great stat. I saw this on Twitter and I checked it. It's right. Since they put the lineup together of Jokic, Gordon, Porter, KCP, and Murray, they are 38-0 against Western Conference opponents.
Jesus Christ.
38-0. Like,
Shit.
yesterday was the closest that they've come to actually losing one.
Wow.
And I do believe they will likely
certainly
sweep
do
this
at
series.
that point. Yeah.
How do you compete with that? I mean, they basically constructed a perfect starting lineup,
Yes.
like out of what, a guy that Orlando didn't want anymore. Michael Porter, who was kind of a risk pick.
Yep.
This Malone must be a hell of a coach.
And he's a really good coach.
I like what I hear from him.
He's right there.
But I mean, they play in excellent symmetry, considering that the whole is definitely better than the sum of their parts, I would say.
Yeah.
Some of their guys, I mean, you can't see. I mean, Gordon's great, but, together with these other guys, Caldwell Pope, I mean, you didn't even know he was still in the league.
I mean, the Lakers gave Caldwell Pope away. I mean, after the championship team, they basically dumped him and Kuzma. To make another trade. That was the Westbrook trade. Actually, they brought in Westbrook. If you remember that worked out real well.
Yeah.
But it's just
I'm a Westbrook fan for some reason. I
am too. But the idea that LeBron, who needs to be on the ball, would bring in another guy who needs to be on the ball was crazy, just because their kids were friends, basically. And it's like
good way to run a club.
But if you look at Denver, they are. I don't think anybody's really beating them unless Jokic gets hurt. We're doing a lot to kind of not say Jokic is far and away the best player in the world right now because people think he's not compelling, or he's the best player in the world.
A lot.
Like, it's just right. It's not even close. I mean, it's not even. I mean, whatever. We could give Luka and SGA and Giannis. He's the best, and Embiid. Jokic is the best player in the world. He just is right now.
And he has
it's funny, you could show up at the park. What were you going to say, Louis? Go ahead.
Well, he's a perfect surrounding group. Look at last night. He didn't hit the game winner. Murray takes over at times. Aaron Gordon was once a number one with Orlando, and he's like the fourth dude. Michael Porter Jr. couldn't hit the side of a barn in the finals last year. He's like, all right, fuck it. He went mid-range, and he started playing defense and rebound. Like, he has the perfect group where he can be I don't really want to score 40. I'd rather score 25. Right. They're like, okay, sure, thank you, and they take full advantage of it.
He makes everybody better too, and that's the other thing. And it's just like they are just really well constructed, and they have a very good philosophy now. Where if you look at this Peyton Watson kid, he's a good example of it. They lose Bruce Brown, but they've been taking these guys. They've been accumulating like late first round picks.
Yep.
With guys who are ready to play, and then they just plug them into the rotation, whether it's Christian Braun or Peyton Watson, and they drafted two more of them this year that probably will be ready next year. They have dynasty potential, actually. I think the only thing that will catch them is OKC, because OKC still has 20 first-round picks over the next 5 years. I mean, they can just
amazing.
They can literally any star who's out there. Like, this is the thing about Heat fans, and that they have to understand here. Okay, you can talk about Donovan Mitchell and all the rest of this, and guys who may want to come here and they may not want to play in Oklahoma City. I get it. Okay. But if they really want to win a championship, they would say, "Get me to Oklahoma City." You know what Oklahoma City would do? Here's 7 first-round picks. What are you going to do against that? They have Sam Presti has basically he's like the monopoly guy who has all of the blue properties right now. Like, it's just he's got Boardwalk, he's got Park Place. I don't see how to me it's only they'll be the challenger to Denver. Going forward, and then whatever they do in San Antonio with Wemby. Those are really 3 markets that the NBA doesn't care about: Denver, OKC, and San Antonio. Like, that's where basketball is going to be centered here for the next 5 to 10 years.
Adam Silver probably gargling with Dilaudid, thinking about that. Maybe that's why he's allowing everybody to, just abuse the rules.
Which of those teams can we move to Vegas? That's what he's thinking. Am I right? Like, that's exactly what he's thinking. Like, okay, just in the middle of the night, just get the Mayflower trucks to San Antonio or to OKC, and just it's not a long trip, and just move them to Vegas. That's
with LeBron as the face of the franchise. That'll work out well for him. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, the last couple of possessions in that Knick Philadelphia game last night, you would have thought Adam Silver, shouldn't intervene. Vince McMahon should have come in there. Just for calling nothing. Guys were decapitated. You thought the ball was rolling to midcourt, and it was like Lowry's head. It was amazing what was happening.
They filed a complaint already, Defo.
As they should. I'm sure it'll hold up a lot of, substance.
Good report.
Every Little League game I ever played in was under protest. I'll never forget that when I moved from Brooklyn to Long Island. Every fucking game was like, and it wasn't even over birth certificates. It was over, absurd things. transgender wasn't an issue then.
Well, Defo, my entire life is under protest. I'm waiting for this.
All right, so Scoop Skolnick says Heat are done. That'll be the headline of the day. And
God, but watch our stuff anyway. Watch our stuff anyway. I'll be there. I'll be there Saturday night. Panthers aren't done. That's good.
Panthers are fun. The Panthers have been a lot of fun. The Lightning, their foe from across the state, tough game one, but the Panthers did go up 1-0 in that series. They take on the Lightning again from home tonight, or Tuesday night, whenever you're listening to this. Panthers trying to take a nice, strong 2-0 lead over the Lightning. The Heat, however, play again Wednesday and trying to just get annihilated. I don't know if they're going to win in Boston. I would just like to see a much better performance from Tyler Hero, and I get it. He's being asked to do a lot of things that's not really his game, but he showed in the past that he can do those things. Bam Adebayo, I know he's exhausted. He, again, as Ethan just talked about, as much as he has the talent to do it, doesn't see himself as a big-time scorer, but we have seen him in the playoffs do it before up in Boston. Let's see if he can do it again. At least give the Heat something. I don't see them winning the series, obviously. I just would like to see them really bust the Celtics' ass and get home and get a win and at least make this go 5 games. We'll see what kind of representative effort the Heat have. It's going to be an interesting offseason. The Heat seem to know Scoop talked about them reshuffling the roster. Feels like they're going to try for a superstar. Yes, they've come up empty the last 3 or 4 years. They know that this roster needs some help. We'll see if they can get that help. We try and give you conversation help each and every morning. South Florida Live, 8 to 9, the YouTube channel, the Facebook. Check us out. We do a national podcast on the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. We do a daily national podcast on nofilter.net. You can just Google Caffeine TV, The Morning Briefing, and you can check us out here with our South Florida content, The Defo Show with the Lubie, on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.